Welcome back. Countdown is 1 day to the presidential and national assembly elections in Nigeria. And the Women's Situation Room Nigeria is calling for peaceful polls ahead of the presidential and national assembly elections. At a gathering in the nation's capital, Abuja, the event, graced by women stakeholders and partners of WSRN, including the UN Women Country Representative, Embassy of Canada, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development. The group is calling on Nigerians to shun violence. And speaking of the two rapid assessments carried out in 10 states and the Federal Capital Territory, the national coordinator of WSRN, Professor Joy Oyensor, observed that women stood out as a group most affected by violence. Professor Oyensor further explains that the factors that spur this violence include poverty, culture, and religion, among others. The national coordinator of the WSRN, Professor Joy Oyensor, joins me on the program. Thank you for joining us on the program. Your group is calling on Nigerians to shun violence ahead of the polls. What really are the yardstick put in place to monitor and protect women during the electoral process?
Evening, everyone. I'm speaking from the Women's Situation Room Observatory for the 2023 elections. And we're all ready. Today we deployed our 350 all-female team into different states of the Federation. We're covering the 6 geopolitical zones, and we're all ready to observe the elections from a gendered perspective. Now, we're going to be watching out for 4 key indicators. The first one is violence against women across the different states where we are deployed. And what we are going to do for this election is we've set up state observatories in the 10 states, in our 10 focal states plus FCT, where we have a national observatory. And we are working in strong collaboration with the police, NOA, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, INEC Gender Office. And once we receive incidents of violence against women or any feedback on non-performance of the beavers, we're going to escalate to the relevant stakeholders. And the view is to get a very good response within the shortest time possible.
Indeed. And we understand that international partners of the WSRN have equally pledged support to stamp out violence against women ahead of the polls in Nigeria. How possible will this be?
The truth is that, we're going to do all that we can to stamp out violence. We do know that some incidents of violence are going to happen, no matter what we do. But the most important thing is to provide quick response and also to sensitize people on the need to have zero tolerance for violence, especially for violence against women in these elections. One of the key factors that deter women from participating in the elections, either as candidates or as voters or as election monitor, is violence. And so with the commitment of the different stakeholders, national different stakeholders especially, because they are the ones on ground tasked with the mandate of ensuring that we have a violence-free environment. With a strong commitment from these stakeholders, we strongly believe that all is ready and we would get very quick response wherever we have any violence situation.
You mentioned sending out about a group of 350 all-women team to monitor the elections. And what is the feedback mechanism? I mean, how do they send reports back to you? Is it right on the spot, or is the assessment meant to take place after the conduct of the election?
Okay, we have 2 ways of getting feedback from our observers. The first one is the real-time data that we get into the situation observatory, which comes through the phone calls they make into the room, the WhatsApp messages they send into the room. So they feed us with information. They use the checklist which we've provided and which we've trained them on before deployment to give us real-time data. Then post the elections, we'll do an assessment or a debriefing to get feedback as to what they observed in the field and other things that happen. But real-time data comes into the field from the deployed observers.
And what kind of support have you been receiving from security agencies and other stakeholders in this election to ensure that your team is able to carry out your duty without any fears?
Yeah, I must confess that we've had very strong support from the security sector across all the states where we've deployed. We've been received with very warm embrace, and then INEC has also been very receptive. The State Ministry of Women Affairs, anyway, we've received very strong support and collaboration from this strategic stakeholders, especially the security agencies. We're also going to work in collaboration with them, feeding into their situation room hotline, which they have given to us. And we also have a hotline which we'll be putting out to, which is already out, and we're asking citizens to just call in anywhere they find violence or see anything. Our motto is, you see violence, you speak out. And the police and other security agencies have promised to respond swiftly.
And I want to believe that beyond sending out a team of women to monitor the elections, you'd also be interested in seeing more women actively participate in the election process. What are you doing to actually make this happen?
Yeah, before now, we've carried out a number of capacity building and also sensitization. Encourage women to come out, to, first of all, to get registered, those that haven't, to get their PVC, and then come out as voters. And then also to the stakeholders who are also responsible to monitor, like INEC, we give strong recommendations to have female election monitors sent out across the different states. And then even to the police, we also made recommendations, and we're happy to see that all these recommendations have really been taken on board. And then as to the female candidates, like I mentioned earlier, one of the deterring factors for women participation in politics is violence. So seeing that we're trying so hard to create an enabling environment which is violence-free is also a major booster to the women candidates. But more still needs to be done in terms of providing the legal environment for women representation to be on the increase.
Indeed, we look forward to having more women on board. And in this case, I want to believe you're looking at meritocracy, not just because they're women.
Oh, yes. And I also want to mention that we shouldn't set the bar higher than we do for men. This is often the tendency in Nigeria. We tend to raise the bar higher than we do for men. So when we don't look at that for men, why do we want to put women on a higher pedestal? So the key thing is, let's have people, women, men, who merit, occupying that position. But we shouldn't set a different bar for women than we do for men. So it's have everyone who merits, coming to that position and leading this country, bringing that transformative change that we want to see in the right office.
And there have also been concerns, actually, that there seem to be so many programs out there, so many projects and policies targeted at women, getting them more involved, and fewer number of them targeted at the men. What do you say about striking a balance?
We don't even have a balance. It's not a level playing field because already men have it all. When you look at the structural limitations, the cultural limitations, the legal limitations women have in participating in politics, all we're trying to even do here is to have a special temporary measure to ensure that women come at par with men. But that is not even happening. Let's look at the current House. How many women do we have occupying seats in the current House? And so it's still, I know people say, oh, we're doing a lot for women, and that's because there is a need. There is a huge gap in representation, and this really needs to be, closed. And until that happens, sensitization will continue, more programs will be on ground, and then, we'll keep on engaging with the different stakeholders to make that happen.
National Coordinator, Women's Situation Group, Nigeria, Professor Joy Oyensor. Thank you very much for talking to us and wishing you and your team all the best.
Thank you so much. But before I leave, I want to give our toll-free number, which is 0800 3425 9776. And I encourage Elle to call in. It's completely free. We're on ground waiting to receive your calls. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Oyesoh. Well, there are also hotlines from INEC and the police, all the security agencies. So if you notice anything, just put a call through and report your observation.